Recently, a study out of Cornell made headlines because it suggested the possibility of ESP. Subjects were able to predict whether a picture was going to appear on the right or left-hand side of a computer screen, but only when researchers used erotic pictures.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien.
I have some postcards from all over the place, all over the world. But I also have certain postcards, shall we say, from France.
12 vintage French erotic postcards are mixed with 12 regular postcards, and the spectator uses their intuition to separate them, which is a lot more fun than separating red cards from black cards.
Not erotic. Not erotic. Pass it to me. So good.
Of course, the results are perfect.
This is pretty awesome. Wow. Okay,
10
I'm
and
blown
10.
away.
I've never seen anything like that before.
And the reactions are out of this world. So far, so good. So far, so good.
Oh my God. Car ma vie, car mes joies, aujourd'hui,
Perfect.
ça commence avec toi. Oh my God.
Got a little teary-eyed there for a moment. I'm good.
Hi, I'm Philpott, and this is the instructional video for French postcards. French postcards is my variation of Paul Currie's classic card trick Out of This World from 1942. In that effect, you take a shuffled deck and the spectator sorts red cards from black cards without looking at the faces, and he is correct. It is possibly the greatest spectator does a magic trick ever devised. It's just wonderful. But as many have noticed, it is not flawless. Part of the problem is it does involve a lot of dealing, especially when you're going through 52 cards. And the other thing is the actual magic, the moment that the magic is happening. You're watching someone sort, on a basic level, you're watching someone sort pieces of paper into two piles. This is not magic, this is filing. French postcards is one of the ways. There are two ways. One was in my Penguin lecture, but this is my other way of really trying to make that dealing, that magical moment, interesting and intriguing. And it adds a dose of realism to the effect. So I think that gets you very engaged, very powerful reactions for the effect. So here we are. I'm going to show you two performance videos, so you can get the most of the patter from that, and then we're going to go into it. Honestly, I wouldn't do what I'm about to do for everyone. You know, it's a little certain risque element to it, but I think you're going to be comfortable with it, right?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Oh, good. Okay, just want to check.
Yeah.
About a year ago, a doctor at Cornell University published a study which suggested the possibility of extrasensory perception. He had students sit in front of a screen, and he would flash up a picture on either the right or left-hand side of the screen, and they had to predict. Was it going to come on the right? Was it going to pop up on the left? And they got it right about 50% of the time. Until they switched to using erotic pictures. I am not making this. This is absolutely true. When they showed erotic pictures, they could predict
before it popped up, if it was going to pop up on the left or right hand side, with like 80% accuracy. We're not going to use electronics or screens because, I mean, that's very easy to manipulate. We're going old school here. I have some pictures. I have some postcards from all over the place, all over the world. But I also have certain postcards, shall we say, from France. French postcards, about a century old, vintage. What I'm going to do is mix these up. If you get a sense of which is an erotic photograph and which is just a regular postcard. Do you want to give it a shot?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, and decide, do you feel that this is erotic or a normal picture?
I think it's erotic.
Okay, we'll put it down there. Next one.
Why?
Next one.
Take
Do I get a
turns.
Yeah,
turn?
you go for it.
Not as firm as the other one. Not erotic.
Not erotic. Pass it to me then. Let's try this out. Here's the third one.
I think this is also erotic.
Okay, put it down.
I'm feeling every one is going to be erotic.
Yeah.
Erotic? Okay.
No.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
A no from you.
Yeah.
Nah.
Okay.
The way you said that, too.
That one spoke to me.
I think that's it.
So let's see how we're doing. So far, so good. So far, so good. This is pretty awesome.
Do you see this? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I kept
Yes.
saying
Okay,
10
I'm
and
loving
10 with no, you can't see what's on them. I just don't understand.
That was totally you guys. That was totally you guys.
That was all us. What does that say about us?
You guys.
Wow.
Seriously.
Nice. Wow.
I've never seen anything like that before.
I've never seen that.
Never.
What we're about to do is inspired by something that really happened.
Okay.
A few years ago, a study came out of Cornell University where it made headlines around the world because it suggested the possibility of extrasensory perception.
Okay.
And there was this one study that was especially interesting. They got a bunch of subjects to sit in front of a computer screen, and they would pop up an image on either the left or right hand side, and the people had to judge, was it going to pop? They had to guess in advance, was it going to pop on the left hand side or the right hand side? And there was, they got it right about half the time, like you'd expect, until they started using erotic pictures. I'm not kidding. This is absolutely true. When they put up erotic pictures on the screen, the people started to be able to predict which side it was going to be on. It is true. I am not making that up. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to have a version of that experiment, but we can't. I don't want to use electronics because I could cheat. We're going to use postcards.
Okay.
So you see here, I've got a bunch of postcards from all over the world. Are you still getting any of these? Perfect. Postcards from all over the world. And we have some postcards here, how do you say, from France.
Okay.
Vintage, French, erotic. Are you comfortable with this?
Yeah.
Are you
No,
totally,
I'm okay.
This is fine, because not everyone is. And, we do have, representing for the ladies. So this is how this is going to work. I'm going to mix these up. And what I want you to do is basically guess. I'm going to hand you these cards, and I want you to separate but not by looking. Right here.
Okay.
And I want you to get a sense of which one. But you're guessing.
Okay.
You're guessing. Now, if you think it is a French postcard, hand it to me. If you think it is not, just discard it onto the table. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so pick a card up and
Okay.
see if you get. Don't look at it.
So,
You think it's not?
no.
Okay, so put it there.
Okay. It's not.
Not.
This one, maybe.
It is.
thing.
You getting a sense?
Okay.
You're doing well, I think. You're going quickly. Do they feel any different to you? Now hang on, let me just see. There should be the same number of cards in each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So one more card in each pile.
I think that one.
Good.
Okay.
Now, did you get a sense of the difference?
Not really.
No? Well, are you interested in, so the ones you gave me were the erotic, right?
Okay.
So, I just want to see how you're doing there. Not bad, not bad. Would you like to see?
Sure.
So you got the first one right.
Okay.
It's a French card. And this one I haven't looked at, but this should be a knot.
Not right.
So far, so good. So far, so good.
Oh my gosh.
You were perfect. Perfect.
No way. Oh my gosh.
That is fantastic.
Wow.
Did you get a sense? I mean, honestly, because that is even better than in the study.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. I don't. Wow. I can't stop staring at the piles.
Oh, that wasn't right.
What?
Yeah.
Having a
you
little
just
bit
did
of
that.
a mind blown moment. Just a little teary-eyed there for a moment. I'm good.
Okay, what's in this package? 24 postcards and an instructional booklet for those who read. The postcards consist of 12 postcards from various destinations around the world, and 12 vintage French erotic postcards. You'll notice this gives you good visibility from a distance using postcards instead of playing cards, just because they're larger. And to aid in the visibility, I have the destination postcards veer towards the blue end of the spectrum, whereas, of course, the French erotic postcards are all in sepia tone, the reddish side of the spectrum. So it has a nice contrast. Plus, they are a different orientation. All the French postcards are vertical, and the destinations are horizontal. The backs are identical, which is essential for the trick, though there is a subtle difference in marking, which doesn't really play into the handling that I use, but I thought would be a handy thing to do. To see which one is which, you'll notice there is a line of text with copyright information. It's the kind of thing that your eye just glosses right over, right next to a dividing line across the center. On the destination postcards, these two lines are even. On this postcard, the dividing line is longer than the copyright information. So that's how the postcards look from a distance. There you go. Does that make sense? You might. It's handy to know where you're at with this. This is one way of doing it. Okay, to set up. I should probably have a break saying set up. Okay, let's just do that. To set up, the destination postcards are on top face of the pack. The French erotic postcards are underneath. I like to have the guy towards the end because he gives a nice little kicker, shall we say. In addition, I like to mark one card, the card which will be on the top. If dealing with this, if I deal with this as a deck of cards, this would be the top of the deck. And what I do is I dog ear it, and I also put a little mark so I can either visually or by feel sense when this card is on the top, because I want this on the top when I get to the dealing, and I'll explain how to do that in a minute. I'm going to start with John Armstrong's Out of This Blah 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 handling, because that's the one I use. The destination postcards are on the face. The French postcards are underneath. You have one marked postcard with a dog ear, so you can find the separation between the two. So you begin by, if you like the introduction about the study out of Cornell, begin with that and show your postcards. You can show your first 12 on cue. You have the postcards from France, vintage French erotic postcards. And there we have one for the ladies. To mix the cards, I always use a Charlier shuffle. In the promotional video, you see Michael Rangel performing this at a bar. He uses a zero, and it actually does work. My zero is mediocre, so I like the Charlier. The Charlier shuffle is very simple. You push off some cards off the top with your thumb into your right hand. Now you raise it and push some off from the bottom onto the top. And then you go around this way and push them from the top to the bottom. Push a few off from the bottom to the top, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, top to the bottom, bottom to the top. There. You have now just cut the cards. You have not mixed them whatsoever. To make it more convincing, I always do it a second time, and I don't even really bother to neaten up beforehand, because the sloppier it looks, the more it just infers that there's chaos. And as you can see, you can talk. You can talk while you do it. It is a very easy move and a lovely, convincing little shuffle, the Charlier shuffle. Now, at this point, you've got a messy deck, and very easily I can see either by just feel, I can see by feel. Yes, I can either feel the dog-eared card or see the mark that I've put on it, which is just a little pencil mark. And so I just have to cut that to the top. And now neaten up, and they are back in exactly the same order that we began with. All the regular postcards, all the French postcards. At this point, you hand them to your spectator. Now, what you have to do then is get them to, by feel, sense which cards are erotic, sense the sexy, feel, and you can play this up as tastefully or not quite so, depending on the situation. The traditional handling involves turning up two cards to mark so they know visually all the time where they're supposed to deal, like all the erotic cards here, all the destination cards here. With the Out of This Blah 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 handling, instead of that, you deal all of one type onto the table and the other type they hand to you. So, let's say you think, and it doesn't necessarily matter if they hand you the erotic ones, or or they put the erotic ones on the table. I kind of like taking the erotic ones, like they are important, and they are, and these are just discard onto the table. Okay, so as they hand you the cards that they feel are erotic, you hold them very delicately, but you take them with one hand and you put them underneath. So that they deal one here, and then they'll hand you one, and you're basically reversing the order. You see that? Here they go onto the top, here they go onto the bottom. These are your erotic cards, these are your not. Now, as you're doing this, you're going to have to keep count. For the first 12, up to 12, so we've got here 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Right now we have gone through all the erotic cards. The erotic cards are here and here. The destination cards are here. This is the point that you have to note the sort of what I call in my other instructions the magic number. When you have dealt out 12 cards, you just pause for a moment to take note of how many cards you have in your hand. Now I'm holding the erotic cards. These cards I need to know how many are in my hand. Right now I've just dealt 6, so it's 6 and 6. I'm going to make them uneven just because that might be clearer as a way of explaining it. So now I have 5 here and 7 down here. Okay? So I now remember 5. 5 is the number I have to remember because that's how many I can cleanly display before I have to do the funny business later on. Okay? So now they finish dealing out, and you don't have to be quite as fussy about counting, except for the fact that when you end up, you have to have the same number of cards in each hand. So often towards the end, I'll just ask them to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the last one goes here, just so we have 12 in each pile. At this point, you neaten them up. This is the erotic pile. Make it really clear because the more clear the finale is, the better a reaction you will get. You'll notice how I set them up. The cards horizontal to me, facing the audience. The tops of it should be oriented, the backs of the cards towards the audience, so they're upside down to me. And so you take a look at the first one, they got it right. Take a look at the second one, they got it right. And now you put them down here like this. Now you can, if you're, really pro, orient them properly. That takes a few extra brain cells. I skip that part. So I put them down and then pick up the next 2 and lay them down. You get a nice picture this way. You're probably going to go off frame at some point. Now, this is a John Armstrong. This is part of the John Armstrong handling, is that you want to move the direction of visual interest away from these cards. So you're creating a nice visual picture, but you're also drawing attention from these cards to here. And now you're keeping count, remembering your magic number. 1, 2, 3, 4. My magic number is 5, so this is the last one I can deal clearly. Now what I should be doing here is going this way. What I do is when I come back here, I put my hands in the wrong piles and continue. You see? I mean, that might be a little tricky to watch. So just watch it in action. My right hand goes to the front pile here. I deal the 5th card. When I come back, I'm going the other way. Visually to them, I'm just continuing what I was doing to the very end, but I've switched my hands over, and it's a very clean. I've never been caught with it. I've never heard of anyone being caught with it. It's really a pretty beautiful little switch, and thanks to John for letting me include it here. The traditional handling. Le handling traditionnel. I used to do this when I was a teenager. That's a long time ago. Yeah. And so I'm going to have to read up on it. Okay, it's pretty simple. In this one, you do your mixing however you want to mix the cards. It's handy here to have the guy in between the two piles. So the right there. I got them to separate. Yeah, perfect. So the last erotic postcard that they will be dealing will be the guy. I'll explain why in a minute. With this, you put two cards face up, one of each. Try to do a little. You know what? I'm going to just redo that because that was really horrifying. When you separate them, you just sort of do a. There we go. We'll pick out that one and that one. Now it seems like a little more random as opposed to you have to fan all the way through the cards to get to the erotic cards, which I just did, which was really bad because you can say, I'm not used to this. What can I say? So you put them down like this, and these are marker cards. They're going to be dealing destination cards here and erotic postcards there. So the magic number you have to watch out for in the first is you watch it after 12, after 11 cards in this handling. 11, you deal out the 11 cards, and then I can't explain why it's different. It's the math is so complicated. It's sine waves and trigonometry. It's really, it can't be explained. So anyways, they deal out 11 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you stop them. Okay, which is this? Which is this? What do you feel? This is destination or erotic. And they're like, well, they're not sure. And I said, well, turn over, take a look. And they'll see the guy. And this always gets great reactions, especially with guys. Yeah, the guys are like, whoa, you know, but women too. They think this is funny because it's a little bit funny. So you say, okay, we're going to use this we're going to switch it up, change sides. Just to show, I think Curry's explanation was he wants to show that he can control your mind to do whatever he wants, and it's not just a question of piles, it's mind control. You know, it's okay, it's okay. So you have that pile, now you're putting the erotic postcard face up here where the destination cards were, and you say, what's the next card? There we go. So now you switch the cards and you deal up the rest. The advantage of this handling is you don't need to be as fussy to make sure that the same number of cards go into each pile. Now you have two piles. This one is correct. This one has the destination cards on top and the erotic cards underneath, just like you would expect. This one does not. This one is exactly opposite. So what you have them do is you clean up this and you give it to them so they can look at them themselves, spread them out or deal them face up one at a time. I like dealing because it doesn't reverse the order. So you get this very clean sort of image, or you can now while they are spreading out the cards, you have to do one sneaky move here, and that's a cut. And you can be holding them like this, and I generally just cut while I'm turning them over because you have to do both moves, and then you can spread out in the same kind of way in reverse. Wait a second here. Spread them out like this. And again, that's a nice, pretty picture. And the cards appear to be where they should be. And you just have to remove these cards. And it's all as it should be. And it's very nice. It's worked for many years, this method. So far be it from me to cast aspersions upon it. I think there's a lot of presentational possibilities you can do with this. A lot of the Bruce Gould presentation that comes as a separate PDF, which should be right alongside of this video. It's really funny, especially for comedy stage magicians. Definitely check that out. It's a really beautiful, funny routine. Steve Valentine, in his Penguin lecture, has a beautiful version of Will the Cards Matched that uses these cards. At the time I'm recording this, that hasn't aired yet, but it has been taped, and so check it out for very many reasons, but also for that really nice handling. Another thing I was thinking of, and I'm just going to throw this out there as a possibility, an effect where they take these cards and look at them, and you tell them which kind of card they're looking at. Now, there are three possible methods for doing this, the most obvious being the markings I told you about, the difference between the copyright line and the dividing line. You can just read the marks, but there are two others that could all work in tandem here. One is you might see a glow on their face, a bluish glow versus a brownish glow will tell you which card it is. And the final one is a little something I've heard about a couple times, but I think it's actually the very first effect in John Fisher's Body Magic. Looking at a sexy picture, your eyes will dilate. So that's another way to tell what they're looking at. Do their eyes dilate when they look at these pictures? So there's three methods, and if you want to jazz, and have a little fun trying it out, and you're not afraid to make some mistakes, because let's face it, mentalists make mistakes. Real mentalists make mistakes. I think that's it. I do. I could go on, but really, your time is valuable, and I just want to go, phone your mother, or Thank you for watching this. Thank you for purchasing the effect, and I'm Chris Philpott, and